It's a bit of a shame because I actually recorded this video yesterday, but the sound quality was kind of bad. So I'm going to try and redo this with no notes, just off the top, see if it works. So essentially, I was talking about the people in the Truman Show. So the background characters in the Truman Show, because Truman's the star of the show, and he's surrounded by quote unquote friends, family, neighbors, right? Work colleagues, and outside people, yeah, bystanders. So I'm going to demonstrate how when you, similar to Truman, start to awaken, because the Truman Show is actually about ascension. You know, most people don't recognize this, but that movie is actually about ascension. When you shift your vibration and you ascend and you leave the simulated reality that you are part of or you were born within, right? And that's what the movie is about. So in a movie, he's got a wife that, you know, he's been married for a number of years. That's his wife, right? But she is even like of the system, you know, including the product placements and steering him a certain direction, right? So bear in mind, Truman, this whole time is asleep. He doesn't know who he is. And just to give you an idea of who he is, in the show, he's a megastar outside of that simulation, right? So that's what he is. That's his frequency. Regardless of what's actually happening in the 3D simulation, he's a megastar, right? Loved by millions. Okay, so that's his frequency. So she was just like taking him kind of like almost in a kind of maze, right? Oh, let's do this, let's do that, let's buy this, let's do that, which kind of keeps him in the frequency. It's like the things to do within that frequency, right? So she provided that. His best friend, the same. His mother, the same, right? His dad apparently died, quote unquote. But here's where it gets deep, because like what I'm trying to show here is the spiritual and the physical, right, are intertwined. As above, so below. That's, everyone says this in the conscious community, but a lot of people don't actually get it, right? It means that whatever's actually happening in other timelines is happening. It's the same, because you are consciousness, right? You're the experiencer. So you might not be experiencing it within your framework because of your vibration, but it's there to be experienced. It's there, okay? So in Truman's case, he's a megastar, loved by millions, worth millions, right? But because of the wall that was around him, which was a simulation, he couldn't experience it then. But ultimately he will, you know, as long as he raises the vibration. So his mom, all these people, like, so when he started to raise his vibration, right, what happened was, actually, hold on one second. I just cut the recording off. Anyway, so talking about his family, yes. So essentially his mom, his best friend, his wife, neighbors, all of them are of the system. So what I was saying is, like, as above, so below. Essentially, when I say that he is of a different, he's a different energy signature to all of them. What I mean by that is this: even on a human level, if his wife, his mom, quote unquote, right? Because we don't even know who his parents are. And a lot of conscious people also have the same feeling where they don't actually know, like, they can't fathom how they were born into that family. Do you know what I mean? Like, they can't believe it. It's almost, it's like, what the, how are these people, they physically can't believe that they're related to these people, you know? So anyway, carrying on. So his mom, all of these people, right, were working for Christoph. So for simplicity's sake, let's say Christoph is the system. Christoph is the system, yeah? He's the guy that sits inside the moon, controlling the simulation for keeping Truman distracted and unaware of who he truly is in this simulated reality. That's his job, right? And they all work for him. So even on a human level, all these people are being paid by Christoph, right? So they are of a hive mind. They are working collectively for the same goal, right? Do you get it? So if they're all working collectively for the same goal, i.e. getting salaries, whatever, to keep him where they want him to be in order to exploit his energy and his potential, right? Because who benefits? The system benefits from him not knowing who he is. Crystal benefits because it's a TV show syndicated that he's running. He's probably selling all the rights and everything, and he's making a killing, right? So it's in his interest that he doesn't know who he is. And that's exactly what the Matrix is, right? So anyway, going further still, you got to recognize that as you awaken, all these people around you, you have to essentially look at them in the same way. Because on a human level, yes, it's a hive mind. But even if the people around you are NPCs, they are also of a hive mind, which means that if the NPCs, they can receive downloads or they can be programmed a certain way. They can be all programmed. They're all currently programmed to be going the opposite way you were going. So whatever they will do to pull you back onto that frequency, they will. So it's the same as them earning a salary for it. Just this time it's a download. Right? And if it's a projection not created, that's somehow been created, is the same story, same rules apply. Do you understand? There's another option, which is the consciousness option, which states that everything comes from within. So somehow Truman was convinced or programmed, because that's why education and teaching is so important. And that's why, like, you know, schools are like one of the big ways they program us, right? So they condition him to create, so they give him all the tools necessary, plus the media, the TV, everything. So it's like something gives you that, the screen of space, something gives you that, you know? And if we're looking at it from the consciousness kind of like 101 standpoint, all is one. That means that was created by consciousness itself, essentially to program it to keep itself at that frequency. That's also an option. Do you understand? So it's a collective mind. You have to recognize and look at everybody in the same way that he was also kind of like, when he started to awaken, he started to look at them like, wow, like, okay, cool. That's how you have to treat the people around you. As you're in the awakening process, the only people that are for you are people that are actually trying to go with what you want to do in terms of awakening your mind and being true to who you are, etc., 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 right? So Truman, being true to himself, wanted to travel, right? And he also had met a girl that he had fallen in love with. Love is one of the big catalysts for spiritual awakening for many people. A lot of people, when they fall in love, it's like, whoa, it completely, or they have a heartbreak, or it's always something like that. But love is a big one, you know, loss of love, like you say you're with somebody or you're whatever, those sorts of things always trigger, because it's something that's known on the kind of like consciousness level to be a very authentic thing, and a real genuine bond between consciousness. You know, so anyway, almost like, you know, people talk about the twin soul thing, the twin flame thing, and it's the same. It's almost like you're recognizing a soul, but you're not you recognize each other in a way that it's not, you can't describe, you know. Anyway, so that's that. And in a movie, I know this is a bit scattered all over the place, please bear with, I'll try and make it as coherent as possible. So in a movie, yeah, he's being true to himself. He always wanted to travel. He always wanted to go to Fiji, I believe it was. And one day something happens and he met this girl. I can't remember. I think it was in a library or some shit. Like, she was an extra. So when I say extra, she was being paid to participate in the Truman Show. Like, she was a worker. Do you understand? And that's the physical 3D level. On a spiritual level, that person could have even been guided or led to that very specific point and not even realize. If they were asleep before, it could have been like, life would have been throwing them all these curveballs, and they would have needed a job, and that would have been the job that would have been something they could have grabbed, like, sure, because she wasn't passionate about that job. It was just a job as an extra, right? So reality could lead you to even that specific point because of what has to happen through these two energies, right? So, and that's the kind of like spiritual side. So then they make eye contact or some shit, and I think he tries to go after her or some shit, And she tells him the truth, like, oh, you're being da 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 da, right? She tells him the truth, right? And they kick her out of that place. And all throughout his life, he's looking for her, right? In magazines, and like that magazine, they could even be a metaphor for pornography. That movie is deep. Like, The Truman Show is not a joke. It's a very deep movie. So he's ripping like all these pages, like bits of her, trying to replicate her face, right? Replicate her, trying to find her, right? And at the same time, also another key component of awakening is when the reality kind of glitches around you. So in his situation, a star fell from the sky, and it was a physical solid metal object. I think it was Sirius B, the star. And that's a very symbolic star anyway. And it's like him seeing that. And this is a point, a really key point about why I believe that some people are NPCs and like they truly are background people, because I think some people would come across this situation like this in Truman's situation, right? And they wouldn't even think of anything about it. They would probably talk about it here and there, tell a few friends or whatever, take a picture, put it on your fucking Facebook or whatever it is, and go to sleep again and not really investigate any deeper. But for Truman, that happened. And from that point on, he started to realize that his world around him was simulated. He noticed it. He literally straight away saw through the matrix. That was something that pushed him over the edge, right? And he started to notice all the patterns, right? Oh, the woman's going to come around the corner in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And a woman came across, and then, even like the traffic, how traffic just kind of like spawned in his world and shit like that. And he really tried to push against it. And when he tried the really aggressive route, the system fought back aggressively as well, right? Because the system stands to lose a lot by him actually ascending. So now this is where the dark night of the soul begins. This is the process. So as he wakes up now, he realizes his relationship is fake, it's pointless. His marriage is pointless. And even his best friend, he starts to realize that, nah. And I think also something also happened. It was another thing where I think he saw his dad, who had supposedly died, playing a character in the Matrix again, which is also something that would really blow your mind, right? Imagine, or the loss of a parent or a father, something like that usually changes people. It tends to change people quite significantly. So imagine you're living your life and you see your dad playing a character in the Matrix, and that's that what I just said doesn't sound profound, but it is, because a lot of our dads, it's almost like they are playing a role. It's almost like, unless they're true, conscious, real people, where they can be like real with you, they're playing a role. And it's the same thing as you see in the Truman Show. He's playing a character. Like, you're not being like, that's not his dad, because you're playing a character. So again, another kind of like breakdown of the whole simulation started to happen again. And he saw signs and symbols. He saw people, like, he could see the background people, he could see the extras and everything like this, right? So that's what happens. And you start to see these coincidences, and life starts to become so kind of wild, and your algorithm is producing your literal thoughts, your literal videos. And I do believe there is a neural link, but it heightens, it becomes almost crazy. And it's almost like you find yourself in these kind of like spaces, researching things, and you don't even know where you began. Like, and it's the same, Truman was looking for every way to kind of like break the code, right? Then he started to play along with the game. And when he started to play along with the game, he outsmarted it just like that. And Truman was not like the wildest cat. Like, he was just a regular guy. He outsmarted it just like that. So that goes to show that once you start to elevate, again, your vibration, your mental abilities increase exponentially, bro. Like, you almost become superhuman. You know what people are thinking. You know what people are feeling. You go into a room and you can sense the vibrations, bruv. Like, you sense it. Like, you see, back along, before the awakening process, I'm using myself as an example, back along, you still get senses, like, you feel it from people and stuff like that, and you used to just brush it off, right? But now, that same sensation is like times 1,000, bro. Like, even a genuine smile, you can still see what's behind the smile, like, or maybe it's just me, but this is one of my powers, I swear. I've just been experiencing this shit. Anyway, so it's like, Truman starts to, he almost like, he gets all these gifts and he tries to break away, and then they try and then they start to hit him with his fears. Your biggest fear, his biggest fear was traveling, and being lost to sea like his dad or whatever, right? And we all have similar fears as well of what's been put in us, whether it's failing, or we're not gonna make it, or we're gonna fucking end up homeless, or we're gonna lose everything that we have, or it all ties back to the same thing. It's like a fear of failing or life not working out for you. And this is such a big fear that's been put into everybody, right? And it's like, what happens is gonna happen. Do you know what I mean? You can't control anything, and you have to embrace life with that understanding that, everything can go to shit tomorrow, but if it does, everything will be fine anyway. Because if it's not, it will have to be fine. It will just have to be eventually, because what's gonna happen? Okay, so bad things are gonna happen. It's not gonna go on to infinity. How's that even possible? Do you know what I mean? How's that even possible? So you take the good with the bad. You take you just accept it. You accept the rain. You accept the sunny days. You accept the cold. You accept the warmth. You accept the bad times. You accept the great times. You accept the lean times. You accept the big cash. It's the same. It's just duality. It's the world of duality. You have to accept both. It's a spectrum. So it's so at this point, Truman now recognizes that he has to make a bold step by actually walking into his fear, which is him being lost to sea. You literally, as part of that awakening process and ascension, you have to literally turn and face your fucking fear. And your fear is like a demon, right? It's scary. It's got fangs and claws and shit, and and I tell you what, I faced my fears, even though I didn't want to, I had to, right? Even though I didn't want to, I had to. And it was like a bright flame of extreme pain, but within that extreme pain came an extreme growth, an extreme realization, and it happens at the same time. It's simultaneous, so you don't actually feel the pain. So as much as you think it's pain, it's not really. It's just growth. You're just changing, because by you facing your fear, you change. It's just like another neuron. You know how they talk about synapses and how they bond. You've created a new pathway. It's a spark of energy which creates another reality within the reality. I don't know if I'm being clear, but anyway, that's what's happening. And another point I was going to make before I forget, I was talking about duality, right? And duality is literally a spectrum and that allows you to experience. So duality is the reason why this is the world of duality. This is it. There's a spectrum world, this place. So it's just like how a beam of light hits a prism, and then it create all these lights, right? All these different colors from that one beam of light. So you're the one beam of light, and you're coming through, you're expressing through this world, right? And all these colors and all these range of possibilities. That's all life is. It's crazy, but it's true. So anyway, back to the Truman Show. So he recognizes, and he has to walk into his fear. So he gets a boat, right? And he tricks everybody. It's like the tricking everybody is almost like, at this point, he's recognized that he's operating by himself. He's alone, and this is a journey he must take alone. The growth, the expansion is something he must do alone, because he can't do it anybody. Nobody gets it, number one, even on a human level, even if they do get it, they're being paid, and then they have chosen not to get it, or choose to get it but not assist you, which is actually seriously inhuman, because it's like, bro, we're exploiting this guy, or what the fuck are we doing? Do you know what I mean? So he's recognized that nobody around him is of any use in terms of this growth process, and he undertakes it, and it's scary, and the reality throws everything at him. It throws everything at him. Bad weather, choppy winds, to scare him to go back, right? To scare him to go back. And there's another point here that I forgot to mention, which is like when Christoph lit the sun during the day. So when Christoph did that, right, He was prepared to turn the reality on its head. Whoever's running this reality is prepared to turn this reality on its head to retrieve the golden goose, the pure energy, the conscious being, the other entity, because he's another entity, whether you want to think about it in the physical sense or metaphysical sense or whatever, even in terms of from a consciousness standpoint, he's the only conscious being there because he's the only one that recognizes that he has a true nature, which is beyond his fear, and he does it. Because most people that choose not to be themselves and go after being themselves can't be conscious. You simply can't be conscious, bro. Like what? So you're living a life that's not even yours. No, you can't be. So he does that, and he gets, it beats him down, completely beats him down. Even though the water wasn't deep, right? And whatever, so he gets stranded at sea and all this other shit, blah, blah, blah. Then when he gets out of the boat, he realizes that the water's only like knee level. That was a metaphor. Firstly, when his ship actually hit the wall, that was the final kind of bit where he smashed through the simulation, right? And even then, he smashed it. Can you see that he didn't lose his mind or anything? Straight away, it was natural inquiry. He wanted to know more. He wanted to explore it, and he approached it with the utmost confidence. He wasn't scared. Some people would turn back because that's scary. Like, oh my God, like I'm at sea and I've just hit a fucking wall. Some people would turn back. Some people would go crazy, but naturally there was, he wanted to explore. So he gets out of the boat and realizes the water's only knee level. That in itself was a metaphor, I think, because the size of the boat, that means the water would have been deep, right? Deeper than that, really. Anyway, and you think, okay, so he's expanded at this point. It's full expansion. He's no longer that guy that was standing at the edge of the simulation. Isn't the guy we began the movie with. Those two people are completely different. You can't even compare them. If you had them two side by side, you'd be like, wow, these two guys are totally different. Because one's fully awake and one's fully asleep. So then the ascension, so you see the stairs leading up to the door, right? And if you think about the set of the movie, right? Let's just think, because everything in these movies is symbolic, because movies are not written by like average people. Like these are people that have studied the art form and they understand the art of subliminal messaging, coding messaging. They get it. They've done the work. Okay, the average person couldn't just go and write a movie. I can believe what you want. It's true. You can string together a good story, but a well put together movie in itself is a work of art. Anyway, so back to the point. So he gets there without even much exploring. He comes across the stairs. That is a coincidence beyond anything. Why would there be stairs right there? Think about it, right? Why would there be stairs there? And if there were like maintenance points or whatever, like for the boat he's in to get to that specific point, maybe that in itself it kind of indicates that the oceans or the waterways and stuff like that all lead to a specific point. It has to, even on a globe, on the flat earth, it's all interlinked in a way. And then straight away from there, he finds the stairs and then he goes up. It's metaphoric. He's ascending. He's literally walking up the clouds into the unknown. But as he's walked into the unknown space, he's much bigger, much wiser, much more aware, much more confident, much more powerful. He's still stepping into the unknown, but he's now got the tools to be able to swim in those waters. Do you understand? Because if you took him from the beginning and just stuck him at that door, I guarantee you he would have had a nervous breakdown. His mind would have completely shattered into 1,000 pieces. They would have to probably section him. He would never be balanced. If you took the one that was from the first scene in the movie that was drawing the spaceman on the glass, and you put him in that space, he dies. His brain fries instantly. So you gotta realize that it's a process. For some people, the awakening process is dribs and drabs of information for like 10 years. It's like was it Hansel and Gretel, where the breadcrumbs, because all these stories are just reminders put there for us by us, really. And that's why we recognize them. And once we hear, that's why when you hear certain truths, you're like, whoa, like, yeah, you feel it on a soul level that that's true. It's almost like you placed it there for yourself, to like a checkpoint, because that's the only way your soul will identify that as absolutely true when it comes from somebody else or whatever. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So it's almost like signs that you've placed in your own path. You've placed it, because remember, you create reality. You've placed the people in your life. You put them there. You understand? So if you even flip that back into this movie, the coincidence of the reality having a maintenance problem with one of the stars, which is a light fitting, for it to fall out of the sky just at the moment where he's come out of his house. It's a coincidence that is, it's almost like you understand, like things. It's almost like on a spiritual consciousness level in that movie, Truman would have got to a point. He'd probably just, I don't know. He's going through life, and it's almost like he there was something that was urging him a certain direction, and that in itself creates the energy to make that happen, which ties in with the idea of consciousness. You actually placing